Okay, this is Teresa, and I am doing this because someone asked if someone could do the cast on showing like numbers and stuff. So I'm going to try to see if I can help to explain this as best I can. Of course, your numbers are not going to be what I have here. Your numbers are going to be different, but I'll explain to you where I got the numbers, okay? So when you do your generator, pattern generator, it'll tell you to cast on stitches. I'm going to say I'm casting on 20 stitches. Your number's going to be different. So on my example, I'm doing 20. And it will tell me the very first stitch you're going to cast on, if on your number one. Well, actually, this is going to be your front edge stitch, and that's going to be for your front of your sweater. Okay, this is the back of your sweater, your sleeve, front. Now this increase is a part of your front, but you're not going to use that for your count. And this count marker is not going to be one that you increase. There's no increase with this marker. But of course, the very first row, it just coincidentally is next to where you're going to increase on each side, but it's not because of the marker. It is because of this stitch right here, your first stitch. You're always going to increase at that first stitch until you get your count for the front. And I'm going to say that I need 8 stitches for my front. So you will, before joining. So you take that in half, because half of your front up here is here and half is over here. So I'm going to need 4 on this side and 4 right here to make 8. And then the whole front will also include anything on this side of this marker, but you don't do that for your count. You're going to need 8 only on that side of that marker. But the very first round, you're going to increase here, and it just happens to be there, and then you will have 2 stitches here. And you won't increase on that one, you will increase on the one over here. Okay? And then it's not this that you increase, it's this marker here that you will increase right before. So that will be your increase, that will be your increase. I underlined your raglan increases. You have 8. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay? So let's say it says to cast on 20. So we're going to cast on 1 stitch, which is your front edge stitch here. Okay? And then number 2 says place a B marker, and that's your increase marker, and that will not be, a count marker, I'm sorry. That will not be an increase marker. And then it says to cast on 1 stitch, which will be for your front stitch for the raglan seam line, okay? And then you will place a marker right here, and that's your raglan increase marker. And then you will cast on 2 stitches plus 2. Yours will say something else, like 20 plus 2. Mine said 12 plus 2, so I had 14 for my stitches I need in here, which was 12 for here and then 2 here, so it was 14 total. And in this example, I have 2 stitches for my sleeve plus these 2, so you will have a total of 4 for your sleeve that you have here. Okay? And then you will place a marker, which is right here. And then it says cast on 6 stitches plus 2 for your back. So I've got these 6 stitches here plus the 2. So I will have a total of 8 for my back, for the back part of my edge. The raglan increase plus the 6, okay? And then it says place an A marker, which is right here, which will separate the back from your other sleeve. And then you will cast on 2 stitches plus 2. So again, for the other sleeve, we got the 2 for the sleeve plus the raglan increase stitches. So we got 4 total for your sleeve. And then you will place the the B marker, or excuse me, you do this 1 stitch here, which is part of the front increase. Place the B marker, and then cast on 1 more stitch, which is your front edge stitch, and that will get you all the way down to the very bottom here. And that's exactly what it tells you to do. And then you will double check and make sure you have 20 stitches. If you do, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. That's where you get your 20 stitches from. Okay, and then you will, because you're going to be over here, and you need to get back here to the front, the right side of your work, because this will be at the wrong side. We're going to purl all the way back around till we get to here. And then you're going to be at the right side, and then you will start your increases. All right. And you'll only do the increases on the right side of your work. And you're only going to increase at this very edge stitch until you have your count, whatever your count is. My count is a total of 8, but half and half, so it's 4 on each side. And then I will join, and this marker and this marker can then, after joining, be taken away, because you won't do any more increases there. Okay, the only other increases for your front will be done right here, just like it will for your shoulder and your back. It'll be done actually here and on this side, because this will be joined in the round at that point. All right, so let me get my stuff ready and I will show you. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this. It's not gonna be easy to do through a viewfinder. So we're going to make our loop, and instead of putting it on the needle, I'm using 6.5 inch needle and a 6.5 inch hook, because you want it pretty close to the same size. But you're going to put the loop on your hook, not your needle, and you're going to line your needle up next to it, and you're going to want this to come around the back through the middle. You don't want it to come this way and then around to there, because then you're adding a loop. So don't do that. Make sure it goes from the middle and wraps around your hook or your needle, and then you will go through that loop with your crochet hook. And there's your first cast on. Now this one that's over here will be counted as a loop. So when you get to that last front edge stitch, that's going to be your front edge stitch that you're going to add to your needle. Okay, so on the diagram, and I like to take the math that it tells me here and do a diagram like this, and I'll just say how many stitches I have to be, like it'll be 6 plus the 2, so 8 total, and I would just put like 8 here, and then put 4 here, 4 here, 1 and 1. That way I don't have to sit there and look at that. That way I know how many to put. So we do the first stitch, and then we're going to put a blue marker. So let me get a blue marker on here, and that is going to be our count marker. So that's our first stitch for the front. And then we're going to add, it says to add 1 more stitch, and that's going to be the raglan increase. So make sure it's through the middle, go around, and we're going to pull that through the loop. There's our other one, and we're going to use a red marker here, an A marker, because that's what it says to do on the next step, is to place the A marker after we do the second stitch. Place the A marker, which we show here. And then we're going to do 4 stitches total, because we have the 2 for the shoulder plus the 2 raglan. So we're going to cast on 4. Got to get the tail out of the way, sorry. It's very hard to do through a viewfinder. So 1, 2, 3, and this is your shoulder stitches, and 4. So there's our 4 shoulder stitches. And the next step after the shoulder stitches is to put another red marker, which I'm using red, which will be the A. So we're going to put the red marker on. So there's your front edge, your raglan increase for the front, and then your shoulder. Okay, your 2 shoulder plus the 2 raglan. And then after that, we're going to do 8 stitches total, which will be for your back, which is the 6 plus the raglan increase. So we're going to cast on 8 more stitches. So 1, 2, 3, Oops, didn't go through, sorry. Number 4, move this down some. 5, come on, go through. Okay, 6, 7, and 8. All right, there's our back stitches. Our 6 plus the 2 for the raglan increase, and then we're going to place another red marker. So we have our 6 for the back plus 2, the 8, place a marker. So there's your 8 plus the marker. All we have left now is the 4 for the shoulder, 1 and 1, okay? So we're going to do 4 for the shoulder, which is 2 plus the 2. The 2 shoulder plus the 2 raglan increases. So 1, 2, I really need to get something to be able to hold the camera and not have it between my legs and to look through the viewfinder to do this. Doesn't make it very easy to do this on camera. All right, 4. We're going to place our last raglan marker, which is red. All right, there's your shoulder. And then we're going to place 1 stitch, which is going to be your front edge. Oops, go around. 1 stitch. And we're going to place the other count marker on there, which is not an increase. And then the very last stitch, which is your front edge, we're going to take off the hook. And I pull it a little so I can get it onto the hook. And instead of placing it like this, it would be twisted. You're going to go in from behind and under it like that. And then you can pull it. So there is your 20 stitches. And you can count them just to make sure you have 20. So we've got, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So there is our cast on stitches. All right. And now since we're on the wrong side of the work, we are going to purl all the way across to get back to the right side. Let me put the crochet hook down and get my needle, the other part. Oops, my camera will stay still and I no longer need this pad. So get that out of the way. All right. So we're going to purl. It's going to be so much fun. Do a viewfinder. Trying to use yarn that would be easy to see. Slip the marker. We're not going to do any increases on this side. It's just purling. And on the wrong side, we're just going to purl. We're not going to do increases on the wrong side of our work. Just purl. Okay. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. It split on me. These needles are so big. Trying to do big needles so it's easier for you to see. Oh, there is a piece of fuzz there. Okay. I'm new to knitting too. Sorry if I'm slow. Some of you are probably a lot faster than I am. And this is just 100% yarn, acrylic yarn. Probably not the best yarn to be using for this, but all right, slip that marker. Being legally blind doesn't help either when you're trying to look through a viewfinder. If I could see my work, it'd be so much easier. This is hard to do through here. I really need a different setup to do videos. And not be sitting in my recliner trying to do this. That probably doesn't help either. So just purl across, I'll meet you at the end. Okay, I've purled all the way across, and that's all you're going to do on the wrong side is just purl all the way back. Okay, so I've purled, and now we're going to start the right side increase round. So we will do an increase at the very front edge stitch, and I do the right side increase. I guess that's what this one's called, but you go not the one on the hook but below it to be able to do your increase. So on this first stitch, you're going to knit it first, and then we will do the increase into it, just like we would a raglan on this side. We're doing the opposite, sorry. But I'm going to knit the stitch first because there's not really much to go into right here. So we're going to knit that stitch first. And then instead of the one on the hook, we're going to go down below and pick up right there. And we're going to do an increase right here. I like to do the lifted increases. So we're going to do an increase right there. And now you have 2 for your count for your front. And the next time you do an increase, it's going to be on this first stitch, not that one. Okay? And then you have your raglan, and you're going to increase on this side of the raglan and this side of the raglan, not this stitch marker. So lift this stitch right here up, if I can get it. There we go. Now lift that up and put it on my hook, or needle, sorry, and do an increase, a knit increase here. All right, and then do the stitch itself. All right, and then you will move your marker over and knit this stitch so we can do the increase on the other side. Oh, sorry, wrong direction, Teresa. Do a knit, and then we will go into the next one, and it's not the one on your hook or that. We're going down into the, because you've already knitted this stitch, we need to go down to the other one right there, and we're going to put that on our hook and knit into the back. Like that. Okay, and then pull it off. Knit across your raglan until the one stitch before your marker, and that's going to be your increase. Okay, we're going to increase here. Since we have not worked into this stitch yet, we're going to pull this loop right here up from behind here. I'm going to pull that up and put it on our hook. My stitches are tight, trying to get them on there, and you will knit it as normal. Okay, and then knit that. And we will move our marker over. Now, as far as this part is concerned, you can watch Mike's tutorial on cast on, or increases, where to increase. He probably has a much better video than I do on that. And then you're going to do your raglan increase here, but you have to make the stitch first to be able to increase into it. Oh, and I just messed that up, sorry. Put it back over there. If I can see what I'm doing. It's very hard to do when you're looking through a viewfinder. Okay, now that we've got that on there, scoot these stitches down. I did a little too tight. They're really tight. And we're not going to do the one on the hook. We're going to go below to pick up from behind here. Oh, if I not split the yarn. There we go. And you will do the increase into the knit into the back loop, not the front. All right, so there's your increase stitch there. Then knit across to your next raglan, the stitch before, to do your next increase. There's a stitch, no, one more. Okay, sorry. All right, now we're at one stitch before. So we are going to do our increase again. We don't do the one on the hook. We've not done this yet, knitted it, so we're going to pull from below and put it up on the hook like that, and knit as normal. There's your next increase, and then knit that stitch. Move your marker over. Then we're going to have to knit. Since there's nothing to knit into, we got to do our next knit, or to increase into. And then we're going to pick up the loop below the one we just did, because we just knitted one, so we got to pick up the other one, put it on the hook, and knit into the back loop. All right, like that. There's our increase. Go across our shoulder stitches. Oh, I'm running out of yarn. Okay, had to add some yarn. I was running low. All right, increase till one before. All right, and then we're going to lift that one below, because we have not done it yet, so we lift that one up onto the hook and knit that as normal. And then knit that stitch. Our last raglan increase marker is here, which means we're going to knit this stitch and then do our increase. Oh my goodness, I'm getting all bunched up. All right, knit that stitch. And then since we knitted that stitch right there, whoops, just a second. Since we knitted this stitch right here, we're going to go to the one below it, which wraps around the back, which is why I go up through it and then pull it out. That's the easy way to get to that stitch, okay? And then you will knit into it from the back. And then slip your count marker. And then at this one, we're going to lift this one up onto our hook. All right, which will be our edge increase. And knit that one as normal. And that is always a tight one to do when you knit that one normal. And then knit that very last edge stitch. All right, and there is the first regular row of your stitches. And now we're going to purl all the way back, and I'll meet you there. Okay, we just finished purling all the way across, just slipping our markers as we went. So now we're back on the right side of our work, and we've got our first couple of rows done. And then we're going to increase again, and of course not here. We're going to increase at this stitch and at this marker on each side of it. And now as you see, these two stitches are in between, and we will not increase there. We increase here, here, and here. To increase the first one, we have to at least knit the stitch. The very end, we're going to do it before we knit it. But at the very beginning, we're going to go ahead and knit that stitch. So then we can go in, not the stitch we just did, the one below it right there, and go in from behind it to pick it up. And, oh, if we can get in there, behind it and pull it out. Not easy to get sometimes. There it is. We're going to pull that up onto the hook, and you're going to knit into the back loop, not the front loop, on that type of increase there. All right, so there's another front stitch, and then we're going to knit this one. And now we have 3 of the 4 we need before the counter there. We got 3 out of the 4 that I need on one side. So we're going to move that stitch over, knit the stitch, and that is not an increase, remember. Knit the stitch, and then we are to our raglan line, and on this side we do it before the raglan, because if we did that stitch first, we wouldn't have any place to go into it. So we're going to pull this stitch up, since we have not knitted into it. We're going to pull the one right below the needle, knit normally into that stitch, then knit the stitch. Now we've increased there. Move our marker over. Okay, and then we've got have no spot there, so we've got to knit it first. And now, since we knitted it, we're not going to do the one we just knitted, but the one below it back here. So we're going to pick that up, if I can get my needle to cooperate with me. Pick that up from the back loop there and put it on the hook and knit to the back of it. And there's our increase. Now knit across and just keep doing that until we get to the end. You'll increase at the raglan on each side like I just did, and I'll meet you at the very end. All right, I've knitted across and I'm almost done. I just got to my last raglan increase. I increased on this side, I knitted that stitch. Now we're going to pick up the one below again and put it on the needle, knit into the back on this side. The other side we knit forward like normal. The left side we're going to knit into the back loop, and then knit this stitch. This is not an increase marker. This is just a count marker, so no increases here. Okay, knit this stitch. And then we are to the last stitch, which is an increase. That's on our hook, so we're going to lift this up, the one right below the one that's on the hook, lift it up and put it on the needle, which is kind of tight sometimes. Knit normally into that stitch, and then knit your last stitch. So now we will have 3 stitches out of the 4 that I need, and whatever count you need, because I need 8 total. So now I've got 6 total. I've got 3 on this side and 3 on the other side. All right, so we're going to purl all the way back, and I'll show you the last round, and then I'll show you how I join it, and then we will remove these blue markers, and we will just have the increase markers left. Okay, now that we've purled all the way across, we are getting to the last part. We only need this last stitch here to increase. and then we will have our 4 count, and once we get to the other end, we'll be able to actually join in the round. I'm going to do the first increase here again and here at the raglan, and then we will meet at the end, because it'll be the same for all the raglan increases until the end, where we will increase into the last stitch also. All right, so here we go. Sorry, my phone likes to move because I'm holding it in between my legs, and it's not very easy to do through a viewfinder, especially for a blind person. Okay, so we're going to do our first increase here. So we've got to knit that stitch to do the increase. And then we will find this stitch from below here. Since we did that increase, we've got to take the one below. I don't want the yarn splitting. Come on, get on there. No, still splitting. I can get it without splitting. There we go. And knit into the back. Get back over there. Back on that hook. There we go. All right, knit into the back of that stitch. There's our 4th for the front. So now we have 4 stitches for the front. Okay, and we can remove this now if you want to, since we know we're at our count number. We can go ahead and remove that, or you can leave it on there until after you get to the end and do your first round of regular knit stitches after you join. But I'll just go ahead and do it now because I know I have what I need there, so I'll just go ahead and do it. And these are all your front stitches now. And then you will lift this up. On the right side, you're going to go into the one right below your needle because we have not knitted this stitch yet. We go here. On this side, we're going to pull the one below because we do knit it first. So pull the stitch up from behind like I'm doing here, the back, and put it on your hook. Or needle, sorry, and then knit as normal. So the right side, you'll put it on your hook and then knit as normal, and then you will knit this stitch. Move your marker over. Then you have to knit this stitch because you have nothing to increase into there. And then we did knit this stitch here, the longer one, that's on the needle. We knitted this, so we need this one right there. So we're going to pick that one up. And I like to go from behind and push it apart so I can get it on there. And that's the one you're going to knit into the back of. On the left side, okay? And we're going to do the same thing all the way across. I'll meet you at the end. All right, we're coming up near the end. I've done my increase at the raglan seam line. So we're going to knit these last stitches. And because I know I'm going to have my 4 count this time for the front, when I increase here, I can go ahead and remove that marker too. Or, as I said, you can wait until you join and then your first round of knits, remove those markers then. Whichever is the easiest way for you to do it, do whatever you prefer. All right, and then we're going to do our last increase here into that loop below the hook because we have not done that stitch yet. And then we're going to knit as normal into those 2 loops. right, and there is our so far. As you can see, it's already starting to lean, which is what we want for our neckline. And then we are ready to actually join in the round. So we're going to join these two ends together. Get that out of the way. We're going to join these two ends, and there's different ways you can do it. Do whatever way you like the best. But normally at this point, let's say if you're doing the round, it'll tell you to cast on like, I don't know, 10 stitches or whatever. If you're doing the V-neck, once you get to the count, like I have 54 total on my V-neck before I joined, which will be 27 on each side. So once I get 27 on that side of the blue, I would then join, and then I have my V-neck, and I can then go through and remove them. And now you'll only do the increases at your raglan seam lines, the two, like here and here, here and here, there and there, and there and there. So you will only do it at those seam lines. Now, as he explained before, once you will have numbers that it will tell you that you need for each thing. Like if you look here, I will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 stitches total for the front on one side. Yes, 8. So I have total of 16 together, because you will have both of these together. So I have 16 on the front and the back. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I have 14. So I'm going to get to my number on the front before I do to the back. Let's say you only needed 18 or 16, and I'm already at the number I need for the front. If I'm at the number I need for the front and I don't need to add any more to my front before I start doing the body, then I will stop increasing on this side of the raglan, because that's for my front. If I've already got my stitch count on here, I will not increase there. But if I don't have my stitch count for my shoulder or my sleeve, I'm still going to increase on this side and on this side. Just like if you've already gotten the back number of stitches, but you don't have the sleeves, you'll increase the sleeve side here and here. But if you've got the back number that you need, you don't increase here and here. So it just depends on what your numbers are and what it tells you to do. If you don't have your number on any of them, you'll increase at all 4 markers on both sides. All right. And since this is kind of small, I'm going to have to pull and do a magic loop basically, so that my needles will have room here to work. All right. By the time you get this far, you won't have to do a magic loop. It's just because I am working with a tiny thing here, so I don't have enough to do it. And let's see, I actually need to do this here too. Let's pull this out a little, because I don't have enough room here. So I'm going to do maybe 3 or 4 stitches here and pull some through there as well. Luckily I got a long enough one in here because I can't make it turn. All right. And another way you can do something small like that is if you have 2 circular needles the same size, you can always use 2 of them. This way I'm going to have one coming out here and one over here, so I can use this needle with this one. Otherwise it won't. It's like this and I can't do it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast on 1 stitch, because I like to do the join to where you slide the stitch over and then drop the other one. So to be able to drop the stitch, I'm going to have to be able to cast one on. So I guess you can use any cast on you want. Yeah, I guess I can just do a knitted cast on. See, where is my yarn? My working yarn is over here. No, it's my tail. Working yarn is over here. So we will go ahead and take this one off. Maybe put it on our crochet hook so I can cast one on. You can do any type of cast on you want. You can do a knitted cast on, whatever. So I'm just going to cast one stitch on and then put this back on the hook. And more than likely you do have a number to cast on. If you're doing the V-neck, you won't unless you're going to do this type of join. Okay, because that one's not going to be seen, okay? So to be able to join, make sure your stitches are not twisted and everything is straight. You will slide this over to this side like that, and you're going to do like you do casting off, where you're going to take the second loop here right there, and you're going to lift it up over and off your hook like that, and now you have joined in the round. And when you join in the round, we are going to place a round marker there, because that will be your marker for the beginning of your round, so you know when to do to start your next round. And from here on, you're just going to knit across until you get to your raglan increases, and keep going like that. But there is your join now, and that's a mini V-neck there or whatever, and then there's your lifted back. So that is how you do it. So I hope this helps anybody that was trying to figure out how to do this. I hope this tutorial helped you a little bit. So I'm sorry it's kind of wiggly, but I'm trying to hold this camera with my legs, and normally I have to get stuff real close to my eyes to see, but because I'm trying to do it through a viewfinder, it makes it very difficult for me to do. I really need to get some type of setup so I can do this easier. But I hope this helped somebody. So thank you guys.